Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Welcome to Breakup Recovery Podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm Barbara Stevens, and Breakup Recovery is a podcast helping you recover from your breakup. In this week's episode, I welcome Robert Kandell, who is a host of Tough Love Podcast. He is a relationship expert, life coach, and of course he has his own personal breakup stories, which he will talk to us today. So welcome, Robert, to Breakup Recovery Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Robert, tell me about your breakups and how you moved forward after the breakup.
I've had several major breakups in my life. All of them have been really different. Some of them have kind of stung me for years on some level, and other ones have been rather quick. The main way I've gotten over that is spending time with myself. And one particular breakup was really kind of sudden, and I wasn't quite clear why we were breaking up. And then I just decided to spend several months. Actually, I set myself up with a 4-month celibacy period where I really learned to be by myself. No dating, no flirting, no sexing, just by myself. And that was the best breakup I ever had because I learned to be with myself.
I guess you learned to like yourself again and understand yourself. What makes you happy?
It's true, and I was shocked at some of the results. I was in San Francisco at the time in the States, and I broke up with her, and I was actually living with a lot of roommates and a lot of people around. And what I discovered was I just learned to love my own company. And it was hard in the beginning. There was definitely loneliness and difficult and resistance to not searching for a replacement. But after a while, I used to, go to meetings, and then I would walk home in San Francisco. I would take my time. I'd listen to my audiobooks. I'd walk 4 or 5 miles home instead of taking a bus or driving, and just loved. There was a special time in my life.
Is there anything else that you did? Did you look at why you broke up, or did you dissect the relationship in any way?
Oh, quite a bit. Definitely. I spent a lot of time thinking. I spent a lot of time writing. I went to a therapist at the time, and I worked with her to kind of break apart and kind of look at those places that I didn't see. I saw things that, like, I was looking to her and pretty much all women my entire life for validation, that I was doing it right, that I was a good man, that I was attractive. And during those I think it was about 4.5 months of being single after that, I really learned to validate myself, built up my self-esteem, and got myself more and more powerful by not looking externally to her or the future woman to make me feel good about myself.
Well, what steps did you actually take to improve your self-esteem and to not want validation from external people or events?
Well, I learned this viewpoint that self-esteem is built upon estimable acts. And that was a mind blower for me because I thought there was some magic pill for self-esteem or some guys were born with it. And once I heard that, I was just like, oh, that's interesting. So I started to do things that had me feel really good about myself and started to track those things that didn't have me feel good. So certain things that had me feel good was I got a gym membership, and I went to the gym 3 times a week on a regular basis. I got a physical trainer. I went to therapy. I avoided sweets and sugar that had, was tasted good and kind of soothed things for the short term, but had me feel bad in the long term. So I really started to kind of do an inventory of the things that had me feel good, and then learned to build my self-esteem just by doing the things that made me feel proud of myself. And I would reward myself. I'd be like, wow, I've worked hard this week, or I worked hard at the gym, or I worked hard at the job. okay, let's have a movie night for myself. And there was a way where I just started to reward myself for my hard work.
Do you think men and women validate themselves in different ways?
I think one of my viewpoints is that definitely. So men tend to get validation or feel good about themselves via production when they produce things. And women tend to validate themselves by their attractiveness, not just physical attractiveness, but just overall energetic attractiveness. So for a man to feel good, for me to feel good, it was really about producing. It was about going to the gym and producing and having myself feel like I was in motion in my life and in my job. And then for women, it's different. It's really about having her feel good about her body and good about her soul and good about her direction in life and good about her relationships. And so it is a little different twist.
And I guess both men and women communicate differently within relationships, don't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a significant difference in terms of how men communicate. Men tend to communicate to produce or to create. It's like guys get together to build something. Women tend to communicate for connection or intimacy. And so a lot of conflicts between men and women tend to happen because a woman is communicating just to feel connected to her partner, and a man will hear that communication as he needs to fix something or do something, and they're very different. A lot of conflicts happen because men and women have different goals in communication.
And I guess that communication does get a little bit blurred when a breakup happens, doesn't it?
I think so. Like I've said, I've broken up with quite a few women in my life, and they've gone from the gambit of like, okay, well, that didn't quite work out. Thank you so much. I'm out of here. To, all in out, distance and angst, and I've had the full spectrum. So, in the messier side, it really can get all our personal stuff and our abandonment issues and our old hurts can arise in a breakout, which can definitely muddy things.
So, Robert, you actually have a podcast yourself. It's called Tough Love. What's that podcast all about?
I was a teacher of relationships, intimacy, and communication for 10 years, actually 11 years. And I got tired of running workshops, the whole enrollment process. And so I decided just to start a podcast in the winter of 2015. So I've been doing it close to 2 years. And the concept of tough love is most of us are actually trained to withhold the truth, to lie, to soothe other people's egos. And my viewpoint is that that's the cancer in society, is that we don't tell each other the truth. So tough love is the truth that's difficult to say or difficult to hear. And it might burn when you first hear it or first say it, but then there's relief and there's connection, there's intimacy, because there's actual communication that's happening after that. So the podcast, I speak, the first half is either an interview with a guest or a rant on a particular topic. And then I do a live coaching call with someone around that topic, and I help them move from point A to point B. And it's a 40-minute show. It's very fast. It's very enjoyable. And that's tough love.
Tell me about one of your one-on-one coaching sessions that you do within your podcast. Tell me about someone who has come on it. What were they expecting, or what was their question to you?
Well, I remember one guy in particular, he was talking about how he didn't feel good about his job search. He felt sort of confronted by it. And then when I realized, we did some talking, and I found two things. One is he loves making money. He just loves it. To him, it was a game. And so he was, going for a position that was really high and actually was outside his reach. And so he was sort of self-sabotaging because he really wanted to make money and not go for a position that was truly his own. The second one was his ego was so fragile that he was looking for a job in an industry and just went to one company, got rejected, and then went into a tailspin because his ego was so invested in that first company. So then I coached him into, okay, you need to be a little patient when you're looking for jobs. You have to kind of accept rejection and keep going. So at the end, we actually had him laughing, and he went out and found a job about 2 or 3 weeks later. So I felt highly successful.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, Robert, you've also brought out a book recently. It's called Unhidden. So what is your book all about?
The book is actually in proposal state. It's a book called Unhidden, and it's a book for men and those confused by them. It's going, I'm actually just pitched it to a publisher, a publishing house called Hay House, and that's in America. Some of the great Wayne Dyers and Louise Hay worked through Hay House. And the book is really about what I was just talking about, how people are taught to live hidden and lie and withhold, and some really pragmatic strategies of how to move from hidden to unhidden, and also from someone who's not taking responsibility to someone who's taking responsibility, and how your life increases. And the book information can be found at toughlove.live. That's TUFF love.live. And it actually might take a year for the book to come out, so probably late 2018.
When you were talking about withholding and with hidden and not being able to communicate honestly, I guess that is the basis for a lot of breakups, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think most people withhold who they are. They withhold the truth from their partners. Then on some level, they feel betrayed that their partner doesn't know things about them. And then they break up with them because, they are not acting or behaving the way they want them to behave. When really it comes down to if people had more permission and in a softer, easier, safer space to tell the truth, I think a lot less breakups would happen. So I think truth and communication is the glue. I think creating solid communication structures for people to reveal the truth is paramount in terms of successful relationships, and just willing to take risks and be honest.
Why do you think people do withhold information with their partners?
Pure fear. I think it comes down to fear. I think a lot of people have shame around certain aspects of themselves, let it be their sexual desires or their relationship desires. They have shame about if my partner found out about this, they might leave, which triggers abandonment issues, so they cover it up. I think most people really hide different parts of themselves just out of a fear of revealing because they're afraid of losing their partner. But when we lie to our partner, we actually manipulate our partner, and that partner doesn't really know who we are. And so it creates a false foundation. We walk around with disguises on rather than telling the truth. So my modus operandi and how I coach people is tell the truth, tell the authentic, tell the 100% truth. And if that person leaves, then they're not right for you. And you will find someone who is good. But most people aren't willing to take the chance of that. And they start to lie, and one lie leads to another lie, and all of a sudden they're two facades relating rather than two authentic people.
And I think a lot of the times we assume the answer or the reaction that the other person or our partner is going to have to a story that we want to tell.
Completely. I mean, we have no idea really what the truth is, but we're so afraid we make up such an imagination in our mind that we create it. So, to me, it's like I'm very honest with my current partner. She knows me more than anyone in the world, and she's made it very safe for me to reveal different parts of myself. I've done the same for her, and I think it's an amazing relationship because we tell each other the truth, and that's not something I've ever done with any woman before in my life.
So I guess that really is the basis of a successful relationship, is honesty and truth and feeling safe in telling that person.
Exactly.
So do you recommend for people who are in relationships who don't feel that they have that ability to be truthful, do you get them to tell the truth in small doses to their partner, or are you thinking that people should just blurt it all out?
Definitely not. I think people need to be deliberate with their communication and deliberate with how they tell people. So if there's a couple that's been together for a while and haven't been honest with each other, here's the first thing I say to one person is, first, apologize. Apologize to your partner for not telling revealing yourself and telling each other the truth. Just be like, I want to apologize. We've been together for a year and there's certain parts of myself that I've hidden. The second thing is to give them the motivation, your partner, the motivation of why you've lied. And you could say something like, I've always been shamed about this part of myself, or I've never felt comfortable, I've never felt confident to totally reveal this part to another person. And so I have a history of being hidden. And the third thing is, I want to be closer to you. I want to show you all of me. And, would you be willing to hear me? Would you be willing to embrace the side of myself? That way you give the partner a chance to say yes or no. They might not want to, but in doing so, it really creates a bigger space. And then to slowly reveal these parts of yourself. And what I found is one truth leads to another truth, leads to another truth. And it's an incredible experience of honesty because you're willing to just stand in the face of who they are. So that's my standard process when people want to start to reveal and be more honest with their partners.
And I guess subconsciously and consciously, that would be like a weight is lifted off you if you can feel that you can be honest with your partner.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing comparison in my life to being able to tell my partner some of the scariest things to me. And most of the time she's like, wow, thank you so much for telling me. Sometimes she's like, all right, I need a little time to process that. But in the end, it's always brings us closer, which to me is the most important thing.
And as you said before, if your partner doesn't accept your honesty or doesn't accept your stories or your vulnerability, then they're not really the person for you.
Nope. I think if you can't be 100% who you are, then that relationship is compromised. And for me personally, I'm not willing to live in a mediocre relationship. And I don't allow my clients to live in a mediocre relationships. If they want to be in it, that's fine. But I'll always reflect back to them that there's truth.
If people want to find out more about what you do, Robert, or connect with you, where can they find this information?
Everything is my website, toughlove.live. That's TUFF love.live. I've got a bunch of videos. I have writing. I have links to my podcast, my upcoming events. So that's the best way to find me is on toughlove.live.
Robert, thank you for coming on to Breakup Recovery Podcast and sharing your breakup story and how you got through it and talking about the basis of a successful relationship and how honesty is obviously the best policy and how that we should feel that we should be able to have honest conversations with our partners. So thank you once again for coming on to Breakup Recovery Podcast.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode number 108, How to Have an Honest Relationship with Robert Kandell. I hope the strategies he shared in today's episode will be of some help to you. I know it can be difficult to be by yourself when you first break up, and Robert admitted that it was difficult for him, but over time it got easier and easier as he did things that he enjoyed and made him feel good about himself. His advice about being honest and authentic is something that we all need to be aware of when you're in a relationship, as it only brings you closer to your partner. If you think the information shared in this podcast could help someone you know, I hope you will tell them about Breakup Recovery Podcast and share it with them so they too can get some ideas and strategies and tips to help them through their own breakup. They can download Breakup Recovery Podcast in Apple Podcast, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and my website. I would appreciate it if you could leave a review in Apple Podcast. I love to read the reviews and it keeps me inspired to continue and also shows me that people are listening and getting value from the content delivered in each of the episodes. We are fast approaching the end of 2018, and I wanted to give you the heads up that I'm going to be taking a hiatus for a few months. As you can guess by my accent, that I live in Australia, and our summer is just about to start. This is the time of year that we go on vacation, spend time with our families, and that is what I want to do. I have a new granddaughter. Well, she isn't that new. She'll be 1 in December, and I'm totally in love with this little one. Being my first grandchild, I'm besotted. I've decided to take a break, and I will resume the podcast in February of 2018. I've been doing Breakup Recovery podcast for 2 years now without a break, and there are so many episodes for you to choose to listen to, which I hope you do. I have a few more episodes to complete before the middle of December. Please look out for those in the usual places you find my podcast. And the last thing I'd like to say is, be gentle on yourself. You deserve happiness.
If you would like to hear previous Breakup Recovery podcasts, visit barbarastevens.com.au. Connect with Barbara Stevens on social media with Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor on Facebook and at You'll Be Okay on Twitter. Read further blogs, view webinar replays, and download your free ebook, 3 Easy Steps to Surviving Your Breakup, and much more at barbarastevens.com.au.